Hey everybody, Scott Welle. Hope you're having a great day. What I want to talk to you about today is mental toughness for runners. And if you know any of my background, watch any of my videos, you know that I studied sports psychology. And I always just say sports psychology is just like life psychology. It's just more specialized towards athletes. But the same basic principles that make you mentally tough in sports are also those that make you mentally tough in life. So from a lot of the runners I've worked with and that I've talked to, they think that finishing times and how fast they can run and whether they set a PR is all about fitness. And certainly fitness and training program and nutrition, hydration, things like that are important, but being mentally tough and being mentally fit is equally as important as being physically fit. And I feel like it's a vastly underestimated thing among runners and among people probably in life. And the basic story that I want to start out with is, if you're a runner, you've probably heard the name Roger Bannister. If you're not a runner, Roger Bannister is the first person to break the 4-minute mile. And if you know any of the story, for years people were trying to break the 4-minute mile. I mean, for 50 plus years, people were trying to break that number. And leading up to, he broke it in May of 1954, there was widespread discussion from doctors and physiologists whether the body was actually physically capable of running under 4 minutes in a mile. And sure enough, Bannister broke it in May of 54. And what most people don't know is the backstory to that. Even though people had been pursuing it and trying to break it for 50 plus years, and probably even above and beyond that, after Bannister broke it in May of 54, 37 people broke the 4-minute mile in the next 2 years. And why? Training programs didn't change, nutrition didn't change, gear and shoes and terrain and surfaces that they were running on didn't change. The only thing that changed was their perception of what was possible and people removing their self-imposed limitations as far as what they thought they were capable of accomplishing. Because someone else had done it, they then could do it too. And this has nothing to do with, I will never run under a 4-minute mile. If you're watching this, maybe you will, but it's a very, very small percentage of the population that's capable of running that fast. And this has everything to do with runners of all ability levels and people in all areas of life. Maybe you're trying to break 5:30 for the marathon, or maybe you're trying to break 2:30 for the marathon. But we all have barriers and these self-imposed limitations and these things that we get stuck on, and this junk that we feed into our head that we feel like, well, I'm only really capable of doing that, or I don't know if I'm capable of running faster than this time. And we do it in every single area. People have these limitations of, well, that's all I'm worth, or that's all I deserve to get paid at this job. Or they have it in relationships. Well, that's how I deserve to get treated. And that's all I'm worth as far as a partner in a relationship. And it relates to every single area. But the starting point to mental toughness is to get that junk out of your head, because more than likely it's what you've been telling yourself. And remove those barriers, remove your perception of what you think you're capable of accomplishing and what you think is possible, and the game changes when you are able to do that. Because that's your governor. Whatever your barrier is, you're never going to go past that until you realize it, acknowledge it, and remove it. And then to me, the second part of mental toughness in running and in life is responding to adversity. Running in life, it's a roller coaster. It's not a train ride. You're gonna go through ups and downs. You're gonna have periods of adversity. And the worst thing that you can possibly do from a running standpoint is to go out there and to think that a race is gonna be easy from start to finish, because that almost never happens. And same thing with life, to think that something that you're trying to accomplish in life is gonna be easy and take no effort from start to finish. Because when you go into it with that perception, you don't know what the hell to do when things do get tough. And I always tell people, and you've probably heard this in some of my other videos, don't wish that it's easier or simpler. Wish that you're stronger. Wish that you're more confident. Wish that you're more capable. Wish that you're more able to overcome these things, and embrace that adversity. Embrace the fact that it's going to get tough, that it's going to be a roller coaster, that there'll be ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And just wish and hope and pray that you are able to overcome that. And that feeds right into self-talk, which is another vastly underestimated thing with people, is when the going gets tough in running and in life, what are you really saying to yourself? I mean, what are you telling yourself as far as, well, I can't do this, well, I can't do that, I didn't train hard enough, well, I had to walk the last marathon, and I don't really know if I can do this. That's the kind of junk that we feed ourselves in our head, and it sounds overly simplistic, but I'm telling you, almost no one does it. It's to shift that simple negative into a positive with some type of positive affirmations, and that is the other part that changes the game from a mental toughness standpoint in athletics and in life. And it's something that you have to think about beforehand, because I always tell people, if you don't bring it to the race, you're not going to find it out there. And the way that you find it is, I talk to a lot of people about establishing reference points. And reference points are basically times when you've overcome something in your life that's given you confidence where you can say, you know what, did it before, I can do it again. And for me, from a running standpoint, that was my second Chicago marathon. Like, to this day, I have no idea what was going on with me that day. I was a month off of Ironman Wisconsin, and really that shouldn't have been that big a deal, but I tapered fine and I trained fine and nutrition was okay, but for whatever reason I got to the last 4 or 5 miles of the race and it was the most pain and the most suffering I've ever been in my life. And thankfully I had my brother alongside of me, and he kind of pulled me along and got me through it. But that is my reference point, and that was the day where I overcome and I reach deep down inside of myself to find a level that I didn't know that I had. And still to this day, every single time something gets hard in my life, definitely in running and sometimes even outside of running, I think back to that time and I say, you know what, did it before, I can do it again. And everybody has those reference points. So I encourage you to think about it. What is a time in your life when you've overcome something, and then bring that to the race and literally practice it, because your self-talk and what you are saying to yourself at those most difficult moments is the game changer of the people that are mentally tough in sports, running, and also in life. So really remember those two things. Get the junk out of your head, remove the barriers, obstacles, self-imposed limitations, what you've been telling yourself, and then shift those negatives to positives when you have those periods of adversity and times get tough in the race. And I'm telling you, game changer, and you won't believe what you're capable of accomplishing when you do that. So this is Scott Welle, as always, wishing you the best of health, happiness, and high performance.